back with Nicole Scott. Okay, you were just telling me about meeting this gentleman while you were on a trip.
Yes.
Yeah, so what's the protocol? How does a relationship expert date?
She doesn't.
Okay.
So, I'm a avid believer to tap into purpose before you even considering dating. So that way, when you connect with someone, you have these similar goals, similar values in common.
Yes.
So I typically don't do the traditional dating, like going to a bar, going out, you know. But I was at my college homecoming this past weekend. Went on a trip to the city where I went to college, and I was out in the lobby of the hotel, and organically I just ended up beside a gentleman, and we striked up some conversation. He knew who I was. He knew the type of work that I do, and he had some questions for me about relationships.
Nice.
And as the conversation ensued, you know, I was like, oh, this guy is interesting.
Yes. Okay. I like your strategy there,
Yes.
getting into the purpose. You know, people are going to wonder, is there a timeline for that? Or how do we know when we've gotten to that point and we want to move on to dating?
The thing is I'm intentional about purpose, so I'm not intentional about dating, if you will. Now, if I connect with someone and have that genuine connection, of course I'm going to be intentional about getting to know this individual if I'm interested. But the act of going out to the club, going to the bar, that's not something that I am intentional about, because I believe that if I'm operating in my purpose, then I'm going to come in contact with different people at different time, and so it's more organic and providential, if you will.
I like that.
And so when you're meeting these people and you're in purpose, you're not even thinking about dating them. You're just connecting on something else, something that we have in common with. And as you have this conversation, then you're like, ooh, he's interesting.
Yeah.
I want to know more. And then you prolong the conversation like I did.
Okay, I like it. All right. So let's say y'all prolong the conversation enough times and y'all want to go on your first trip together.
Okay.
We talked about, you know, planning and preparing. Once you're on that trip, you know, as a couple, how do you make sure things continue to go smoothly? Because, you know, simple things can lead to arguments when you are out of your regular environment.
Absolutely. So we have this conversation before we even go on the trip.
Okay.
We need to sit down and decide, what is it that you like to do, what is it that I like to do, and what is it that we're willing to try together, right? And so it may be something that you like to do that I've never tried, or maybe I have never taken interest in, but I'm agreeing like, hey, I'm willing to make the compromise, because that's important in relationship. That can transpose into something else where I'm willing to compromise, and then that person can see, okay, you know, it doesn't always have to be about her, or it doesn't always have to be about him, but we can come together and make this decision together.
Okay, it sounds like compromise is key.
Oh, it's definitely key in relationships.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So when you're traveling and let's say you do, like something does get started, an argument, neither person is budging, and we don't want to spend the whole trip mad at each other. What's your recommendation for moving forward?
You have to decide what's important.
Okay.
Is it important for me to be right or to stand on business, or is it important to continue to grow and pursue this relationship? It all depends on you, what you want. Do you want to be right, or do you want this relationship, right? Or is it that important to just not budge? You're on a trip, you're supposed to be having a good time. I can't imagine what issue you would have that would make you say, you know what, I'm not budging. We out here and a million miles away from home, and I'm just going to be difficult. No, you just decide what is important to you.
Right. Don't ruin it. Okay.
Don't ruin it.
If a couple's been together a long time, or they're married, and you know they're taking the trip, but they're always together, do you recommend maybe some like solo adventure time at all? Is that allowed?
I think it's allowed. I think that if we have a level of trust and understanding, and we have communication about, like, you can't just be like, I'm out and I'll be back.
Peace. Going snorkeling.
No. Okay. We need to have a conversation, and then, you know, I think it's fine if you want to explore or go somewhere or do something. I may not even want to go. So, you know, I think that's okay as long as we have open, honest, and transparent, candid conversation.
All right. All right. Well, do you get a lot of people with kids? I talked a little bit about everyone myself. It changes the dynamic if you're a couple and you have kids that you're taking on a trip. You know, how do you make sure that you're getting that solo time, the couple time in?
Right. So it depends on the age of the children.
Okay.
Right? Are they sharing a room? You know, do they have this own room? Do I need to leave them at home with mama? Yeah, that's something we have to discuss.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because sometimes, you need it.
Yeah, you
like
need
the whole
that.
trip.
You need your time as a couple. First of all, you need time away from the children. Absolutely, because you still have to nurture the relationship.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's a conversation we have. Is this a children's trip where we're taking them to Disney and it's all about them, or do we need some time alone where we leave the children behind and you and I go?
Maybe we need to budget for 2 different trips in the year to make that happen.
Right.
Okay, yeah, that's the time to reconnect. Well, thank you so much for those tips. Okay, guys, we'll be back with that recipe I told you about. Grandma went to Korea and brought you something back.